What's going on, guys? Ben here, owner and CEO of Peptira.
I'm Derek. If you guys don't know, I run Peptide Price Store. It's a website to compare all the different US research companies, and Peptira has quickly become one of the favorites on there. So, yeah.
Firstly, we want to welcome you guys to our first episode of an unnamed podcast. So, we are actually going to allow you guys down in the poll, down below this podcast episode, to have an opportunity to help us pick the name out of some names that we've curated already. And finalize the actual name of this podcast. So if you haven't already, pause the video real quick, jump down below, get your vote in so we can make sure that we have a really awesome name for this podcast going forward, guys. So this is episode 1. We are basically just going to do a quick introduction of myself here at Peptira, as well as Derek and his price tool and what he's built over there. So first things first, guys, we're going to start with Derek. He started in this space a little bit before I did, building out his awesome tool. So Derek, why don't you give us a 30,000 foot view of what you've built over there at the Peptide Price store and how you've built that thing out?
Yeah. So basically, when I first got into the research space, I was very confused with all the different companies, basically what people had, what their prices were. Everybody had different coupon codes, stuff like that. So it was super hard. I was jumping between 4 or 5 different websites to try to find, one product where I was going to get the best deal, especially because, research products are expensive. Everybody wants, good quality products. So back in April, it was actually Easter Sunday when I started building Peptide Price. I figured I was going to combine a bunch of different websites in one spot. I didn't want to do a spreadsheet like everybody else. I wanted to make it available to anybody out there. So I'm a software engineer. That's what I went to school for. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this as a side project. Maybe 1 or 2 people will get some value out of it. Maybe a couple people will use it. And I started just basically coding away. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer than it did. It took me about like 2 days to get the website actually live. There was 4 companies on there to start, and 2 of them are still on the website today, and the rest are gone. So it
Yeah,
was
that,
I didn't have coupon codes for any of them. I was just putting like random sites, that I know that were kind of like trusted in the space. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know about COAs. I didn't know about like any of this stuff. I don't think anybody really did. And from the beginning, like I think maybe there was a couple companies, Simple, Modern, like the ones that were well known in the space for a while, were kind of on there. And then actually a couple of companies just asked to be taken off. They didn't want to be compared because, some people just don't want the exposure in the space, and that was fine. And that's kind of how I ran it. I want to always have a company's permission to be on the site, but also like it gives me a better relationship back and forth, such as like Peptira or like all the other ones. I've been in the fortunate position now to either have like agreements with them, or I can just talk with them when, if there's customer service issues, there's something going on, and that kind of gives me that relationship there. But slowly but surely just started building that out. It was probably a week in where I posted a TikTok about it, that I launched Peptide Price. And at first, I didn't even buy a domain name. It was hosted on something called Netlify. So it was peptideprice.netlify.app. And that's the original videos. That's the link you had to go to. I remember the first video that got posted, I was replying to comments with that link. There was no, I didn't have the link in the bio because I didn't have 1,000 followers or anything like that. Like people were like, what is this tool? The first one kind of went crazy. I think it was like, eventually it got up to like 70K views. But at the start, it was
wow.
like maybe like 3, 4K in the first like day or two. And I woke up and I was like, everybody that was asking for it, I would go in the comments or DM them the link. And it was, just that Netlify app, and nobody could search it. Nobody could do anything like that. It was literally the way, like, if I would host this on like, have to let everybody in one by one. That's how I was doing it. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you were opening the door for everyone who wanted in.
yeah. Yeah. So that day I literally like I was surprised I just didn't get banned by the amount of like they probably thought I was just spamming everybody with like links, like trying to get them like something they didn't want. But after that, like I just kind of built it with the community, if that makes sense. I was asking people, because I didn't know everything about the research space, what companies like they liked, which ones they've been using in the space, what they wanted to see. Because before that, it was literally, it was whatever products they had all in one spot, and it was like the main ones that you could kind of compare. And then the other thing that I wanted was to kind of make it like a tool where you could search up anything that in the research space context wise that's like only one or two companies carry this, but at least I can price compare via that. So I was like
Right.
asking, what companies are out there? What products do you guys want to see? What's super hard to find? I think it was like SLU PP332 at the time that like nobody had, or it would go out of stock like constantly. So every day was just like, new companies reaching out to them to see if they could get added. Like some said no, some said yes, and then kind of just built it out that way. I think it was about like 2 months in where I finally got to a point where I had a good variety of like maybe 10 websites on there. And then companies started reaching out to me to be added to the tool just because they saw it, which was kind of cool. Like I never thought, you know what I mean? Like, me trying to get into these, like trying to reach out to these companies, a lot of the times I didn't even get a response back. And now fast forward to today, like there's probably about 40 companies that I probably even haven't seen their DMs that like want to be added to the tool. But
Yeah,
we've kind of
I'm sure
moved.
you're beating
Yeah.
companies off with a stick right now. Like, I can't have this many on here, you know. You got a few at
It's
a time. You a few at a time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've learned a lot about the space and we can talk about that, but I think the main thing is just driving people to like the whole thing I wanted was to make this process easier for people in the research space, not have it be so confusing. And then as I learned over time, it just kind of got better with like the filters that you could search for, the requirements for the website of like main thing is always testing products with COAs before you like list stuff. Like that's probably the most important if I had to sum it up. And honestly, like overall, the community just grew crazy. Like I think on my original TikTok in July, I hit about like 39,000 followers. I went through about eight
Wow.
TikTok accounts at this point. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
As you guys know, or if you don't know, and you're new to the research peptide space, TikTok is not a giant fan of talking about it
Mm,
on their platform. Hence the reason we're over here on school. And so I think Derek's burned through a few. I've certainly burned through a few, and
yeah.
pretty much everyone I know in the space has burned through quite a few TikToks. So that's why you'll find us over here on the school for future episodes of this podcast as well.
No, for sure. And I think one of the main things was that original TikTok I was doing unboxings, reconstitution videos. It was a lot more lenient back, 5, 6 months ago kind of thing. It was you could do anything. You could like, do anything educational wise. You could like, you could say the word peptide on there and not get banned for it. Now people can't even do that, which is, it's insane, but that's just the way it's like heading kind of thing. So that's why I transitioned into school. And I think that's an important like switch over for me. I kind of saw the whole research space just, accounts getting knocked off constantly. Like I said, I have 7 banned. I have 5 running right now, different accounts. So if you see random ones, it's probably me. Hopefully it's me. Um, but yeah, no, I started school like end of July. I think I launched it. And now it's October 30th and we're at like 70, we're almost at 7,300 members. So it's been growing crazy.
Wow, it's grown
Um,
quite a bit. I think the last time I looked was not even that long ago, and we were at like 59 that you had on there. So that's killer, man.
yeah,
That's
yeah. It
and
almost
and what's
grows
really what's
like, yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say it almost grows like it's like 50 to 100 every single day. And now it's just word of mouth. It's not even like me directing people directly to it through the website or through TikTok channels. It's actually people inviting each other, which is kind of the craziest part for on my side of it. Never thought I would get to that spot. I always thought, if it randomly pops up on somebody's For You page, like maybe, like if I like provide them some value or something like that, they'll come to the website or like, follow or anything. But getting somebody off that platform to come to like something like school, that's insane to me.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially TikTok, and the way it works on the human brain. We're all scrolling, we're getting those
Yeah.
dopamine hits, and so they want to scroll to the next thing. And so, like you say, to get someone off of that platform over to school is pretty impressive. And like you say, if you're providing value, which I think that's one thing that you've done really well is providing value. You have a useful tool, like you say, it's really easy to go out there. And especially if you're looking for a peptide that's not easy to, I mean, there's certain ones that you can find everywhere, and there's certain ones that
Yeah.
are certainly hard to find. I mean, even at Peptira, we have multiple peptides that we don't carry that other peptide companies do. And so for them to be able to go to one place, I mean, I was a researcher just like everyone probably listening to this podcast is or was or is about to be. And I had folder tabs, bookmark tabs across the top and spreadsheets. And
Yeah.
who's got the best price for this and who's got the best price for that, and having the ability to go to one place and be able to see that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, but now you even have gone into not just looking at strictly price, but you've even gotten into who has better customer service. Not to toot our own horn, but I think we were for a
Yeah.
while we were up there on that listing. But who has the best customer service? What's the best value? I think you have a few different categories, and then further, I think you even have a reviews section out on your platform where you can read reviews just like Trustpilot or Google reviews of the companies that exist on your platform too. So it's not just who's got the best price, because that's not always the best answer,
Right.
right? It's a plethora of things that make up and build that trust for someone to utilize that. And it's something that I think is very valuable to a new researcher in the space. That's for sure.
No, for sure. So as I kind of was building along with this whole thing, I realized like, obviously it's a price comparison website, right? So like you'd think like, at some point the prices are just gonna get so low that the whole research space isn't just about the cheapest price, especially the US research space. It's about, at the end of the day, it's a good customer experience where they get a good product and they don't have to worry about the in between. So as that kind of developed, I learned more about COA testing, more about how important customer service was, shipping speeds, what happens when a product breaks in transit or gets lost, and I saw how important that was. And on the website now, there's so much stuff. It not only compares like the price with the coupon codes and stuff, there's filters for price per milligram, there's filters. You can now see which companies are testing for what. So it'll be like if you have, net content and purity, or like obviously the bare minimum for, what you want to see on a COA. But now it's if anyone's testing endotoxins, sterility, heavy metals, it goes into that. There's a little like there's so many hidden features on the website to kind of see different aspects of it. One of the things was like when school got bigger, I did a monthly like school, like who's your guys' favorite, company on here, which one's providing the best customer service. There's all those category breakdowns, and you'll see it like day by day. And like as you're going through those price listings with like little badges or icons, if you hover over them, they'll kind of explain what's going on. And yeah, I just realized there's a lot more to it. A lot of the times, like when you go so low in price, you just like something breaks somewhere. Either, there's not good customer service, there's not testing for stuff, there's something. I think I've been in the fortunate position to talk to enough people, like actually owner wise. Now I'm at the point, like if I add a company, I've seen the infrastructure of the company. I like talk to the owner, like we have an established like relationship there. Cause if I'm gonna put it out to you guys, I want to make sure you guys are taken care of at the end of the day. It's not gonna be, something where you guys have a terrible experience right off the bat. And it's not good for me. It's not good for the company. It's not good for you guys. So that's the real like that's the balance I'm trying to strike in the research space. And I think the website, like, yeah, I could list every single company on there, but I've kind of asked the community, and they wanted it to be nice and slow, take my time with everything, because I want to. At the end of the day, like I started getting into the research space because I wanted a good experience for everybody else. Like if it were me, like purchasing it just for the first time. So every site that gets added, I do an unboxing of the company, make sure it got shipped properly. If there was any issues, they took care of that aspect of it. Made sure everything was good with the products, labeling, testing, all of that. And then that's kind of how eventually, I think it was around June or July when Mr. Peptira first reached out. This was right when I got into the school community. That's how we connected actually, because it was just growing. So there was only couple hundred members or something like that. And he reached out to me via school DM because it was so hard to keep track of TikTok DMs. I still try to respond to as many as possible, but I remember on that original count with like 30 some thousand followers, like I would reply to about 50 a day and I couldn't keep up. Like they were
Yeah.
just coming in constantly. Like it wasn't that I didn't want to add companies or anything like that. It was just, it got mixed in with so many. And I'm sure a lot of them just, the inbox was full. So nobody got there. But I think we should talk about how you first reached out to me. Cause that was kind of that I didn't really know about Peptira. I don't know how you first found me. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, no, at that time, no one knew about Peptira, right? I think it was early August. I think it was when I reached out to you because I know it was just shortly before Labor Day.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, no one knew about Peptira because there wasn't much to know about Peptira at the time. We formed Peptira, my wife and I, in June, early June, and we basically did nothing with it besides game plan for about a month
Mhm.
and a half. It was just game planning, making sure that our sourcing was right, that our labeling was going to be on point. And we've consistently grown since then as far as what we've done to set ourselves apart. But yeah, I mean, we kind of got into the space as researchers ourselves, and we recognized, much like yourself, that there was a gap in maybe I would say the education and the ease of access and understanding
Mhm.
what was going on and having a safe place to feel comfortable, right? Like you say, not many people knew what COAs were. If you did find a website that had COAs, sometimes they weren't very easy to find. Labeling and packaging wasn't very clear. There just was things missing that us as researchers, myself and my wife, we thought, man, it'd be really nice if there was someone doing this. And we thought, well, why not us? Why don't we go do it? And so that's why
Mhm.
we started Peptira, was kind of the same boat you're in, as we wanted to have an affordable, uh, easy to understand place for researchers to go and get started. And so, in July 19th, we started a TikTok. Never been on TikTok before other than scrolling through.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so as we were scrolling through, we started shooting our first pieces of content, letting everyone know, hey, we're gonna launch this thing. We've got labeling all built out. We've got everything ready to go, and so we launched it, and we found great support really really quickly in the late month of July and early August. And I think it was around August 13th to 15th, somewhere around there. I saw your content on I think on TikTok or somewhere, and thought, man,
Yeah.
this is neat. This is what this man's built is really really cool. I wish this existed, when I was researching. So I think it was on school. I reached out to you. I shot you a DM and was like, "Hey, man, what do we need to do to qualify to be on your platform?" And I think we got on the phone and talked for like 4 hours the first time we
Mhm.
sat down, and we went through everything that we needed to do to make sure that we were able to qualify to be on your tool. And that's one thing I can appreciate is, like you say, you're putting your name out there, and so you do your due diligence. You're not just, oh, sure, you want to be on the peptide price tool, next guy, next guy, next guy. You make sure that you think that you're bringing on a trustworthy company. And so I can appreciate that. And
Yeah.
so, um, let's see, that would have been August. And then, obviously September, we grew a little bit more. And it was in September when we started really optimizing. So, that's when we started making the new labels, which, I know that you're a huge fan of. I think everyone has been a huge fan of. I think it was something that was
Mhm.
unique. So, what we do, one of the things we do, guys, and we'll probably dive into this later some other time, but it may not be very easy to see here on the camera. But one thing that we do, yeah, there's not going to focus very well, but on
Yeah.
this side over here, what's really neat is we have our batch numbers up above our QR code. So we have our QR code, the batch number, and then below that, we have your net peptide content and purity right there on every single vial. So it's really nice and easy to
Mhm.
read. And I probably couldn't see that. Maybe we'll throw a
Well,
picture up.
I'll throw a pop up on the screen. I wanted to mention
Perfect.
that was honestly the thing I was most impressed with whenever we, like you said, we first talked on the phone. Like we talked probably for 4 hours, and then we did. I remember we were still debating. We talked, and then right as I did that unboxing, I think you were still maybe you just started offering like kits or something like that at the time, and you were kind of going back and forth on that. And I remember when I did the unboxing, this was right maybe after you guys did a launch, you had a little bit of a 3D printed case, but it was like you gave me like a little like four pack 3D printed case that said Peptira
Yep.
on it. And that was cool. But I was most impressed by I opened everything up. It had a label, QR code, and net content on it, like right away. Like it was the I think I got GHKCU at the time or whatever. It was something like that. And everything, I think that was still when you were using like bubble wrap for like singles. So it
Yep.
had the label on there. And I was surprised. That was just when QR codes were kind of getting big. I feel like you guys have always been one step ahead when it came to the labeling process. Because shortly after that, I don't think that first batch had the net content on it, but then right after you added it. So whenever we did that second one for like the first sale, like showed people that, and then shortly after we added where you're like, I'm doing this anyways, I can just throw net purity on there too if people want to
Yep.
see it. And I think it looks really cool for anybody who gets a glow or a clo that has like those multiple components in it. That's where it like really shines. But once once I kind of saw that, and it made me not want to switch back, especially if you're storing something for the long term and you don't want to open the COA every single time. You want to do it once to verify, right? Like verify that it's good or whatever. But having all that, so if people do want to go check, like people don't understand underfill, overfill, that can be a very important component. And a lot of people are like, whatever the label says, it should be that, but a lot of the times it's not close to it. It's
No, no.
it could be within one or two, but a lot of ballpark, it's like plus or minus five sometimes.
Right, right. And you've hit the nail on the head. We started out with we had just the QR code on the vial. And that took you right out to the COA. So you could scan that. It would take you to the COA, which there you could verify the purity and net peptide content. And then you're right. We added net peptide content next. And then we were like, well, like you say, we're here anyways. Let's add the purity there. And then we moved things around and kind of made those custom ones for Clo and Glow, which I really, really, they're my favorite too. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
being
yeah,
able to look at your Clo and see the KPV content, be able to see the BPC-TB content, see all the content of each peptide inside of those blends is I think unique and nice. And once again, you hit the nail on the head. Is we have a COA library on our website, so you can always go there and go to test results and see the entire history of every batch that has ever come through Peptira from batch one through current.
yeah.
So you can always find it if you need to. But like you say, if someone buys a kit, which I think is unique too, we offer singles. So you can buy a single vial, a trio, a pack of three, a half kit, a pack of five, and a kit, a pack of 10 at discounted rates as you move up the scale. But if you buy 10 of these things, some of these can go in the fridge for years. And you're not going to
Yeah.
want to go digging through my test results and find batch
Mhm.
006 when we're on batch 171 now and
Yeah.
and looking for it. Well, you don't have to do that. It's right there. You can scan it. It's still going to take you right to it. So, yeah, I think our labeling, like you say, is we've tried really hard to be one step ahead. We've tried really hard to make ourselves, much like you, um, a simple, easy place for researchers who are unfamiliar with the space to go and start their research process and not have to be quite as concerned. Um, I think our shipping speaks to the like everything we do is basically built around that, and like much
Mhm.
like you let your audience kind of dictate what you do with your tool. We do the same thing. We do lots of asking people, hey, what do you think about this shipping? Should we not do full kits and half kits? We have too many people that wanted it. So we kept full kits and
Yeah.
half kits around. At one point in time, we kicked it around to switching to singles and trios only. But too many people wanted those half kits and full kits, and we want to be one shop comfortable place for everybody. So, um,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. This has been it's been a lot of fun to build this company up. My wife and I have just worked really hard. My wife has done a ton of work herself to get us where we are. So I can't thank her enough. But it's been a lot of fun. Fast forward to today, I think we're probably in maybe the top 15 larger peptide companies in the U.S. and we worked really hard to get here and. People tell us all the time, like, don't raise your prices, don't do that. We're not gonna, guys. We're right where we need to be. We put on the blinders. We don't really look too much at what other people are doing. We
Yeah.
just kind of do our own thing. We try to stay out of the drama. We try to keep ourselves completely out of that because there's
It's
plenty of
not
that
easy.
floating around.
Not
Yeah, there's plenty.
easy.
Yeah, plenty of that floating around. So we stay out of that, and we feel like we've built something really neat. We have a really good community. We have people like Derek and his community that kind of run parallel to our community, and lots of intermingling and cross sections of our communities. And so I really appreciate what we've built and what everyone has helped us build and all the support. And um, it's only going to get better. We're only going to get better. We're only going to offer more products. I mean, sneak peek, we got new ones dropping tomorrow and probably six new ones coming in the month of November. So some really cool stuff coming up in the following months. So we just loved all the support and we love this space. It's been a lot of fun. So
Well, yeah, I think you missed one massive portion of building Peptira, and I think what shocked me the most was, it's been, it hasn't been a smooth ride, like getting to like here. Like you put in a lot of hours and stuff like that too. I think the biggest element of your guys' business is the customer service aspect of it. Because with the first, I didn't even know about it. Like we launched like the site on Peptide Price. A couple people, like maybe 2 or 3 days after, like, somebody's order got lost, or something happened. And what shocked me the most is you do Loom videos for everybody, that like you do Loom videos for like random like orders or stuff that got lost, basically explaining what happened, send it over to them. And I think you CC'd me in one of them, and I was like, nobody else is doing this in the space, nevertheless, and the time that you guys do it. So I think that's the key to your guys, to people coming back. There's a lot of return, like,
Right.
once people come over to Peptira, there's all the other elements of the labeling and everything that kind of make it stand out. But feeling taken care of at the end of the day, I think, is the big thing there. And you can kind of maybe expand on like how you got there with customer service and the whole, your methodology behind it.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, customer service is just part of the Peptira promise, and from day one, it's probably been top of the list. Along with just feeling safe and secure in your research and navigating a comfortable and easy to use website. But when it comes to customer service, we come originally from the what's called the property and casualty insurance world. So we insured fleets of semi trucks, is what we did. Those guys are on the road 24/7. They're not home to check their mail. They're not home. They're running all of our logistics. I mean, they're how our product gets here. They're busy, and what they need is someone to just be their right hand man while they're on the road 24 hours a day. And so we got really good at customer service because of that. And those same mentalities that we learned there have been brought over to Peptira. And like you said, one thing that we do over in on the insurance side, which obviously we no longer do, we exited that space the 15th of October 2025. But we those Loom videos I think are really, really neat. So it doesn't happen for every single video guy or
Yeah.
every single issue guys, but if we have something especially that's urgent or that I can easily show on my screen, what I'll do is I'll shoot a video that looks much like a Zoom, and it's a small little bubble of me in the corner of my screen, and behind that bubble will be me refunding your issue if we had a broken vial and you wanted a refund, or me replacing a vial if you had a broken vial and you wanted a replaced vial, because things are going to happen, guys. One thing that I can assure you of is I cannot control UPS, USPS, and
Mhm.
FedEx. So be patient with us if we have issues with them. Once it leaves here, it is a little bit outside of our control. Sometimes I can pull a little bit, but it does leave our control majorly. Now, what happens if they lose a package is in our control. And so usually a lost package, guys, you get a hold of us, we check the tracking on it. We pay for GPS tracking on 99% of our packages. If we see that your package didn't make it to your house, you're getting a new one. It's just that simple. And it happens fast. Our average turnaround time right now is less than 50 minutes. So if you get a hold of our customer service team between the hours of 9 a.m. Mountain Time and usually around 7 p.m. Mountain Time, you're usually going to hear back in 20 minutes, but almost certainly within 50 minutes. So yeah, lost, damage, stolen, we're going to get you taken care of. Um, if you have questions, we're going to answer them to the best of our ability as far as we can in the research space. And then we have a Telegram community that we have full of researchers that can also assist you. And then you can always go to Derek's school too. That's one thing that I love about Derek's school is it's active,
Yeah.
guys. It's an active community. If you have questions about your research, go join that community and just ask a question and look at the comment section light up. You will have plenty of support and answers to your questions in there. So, but yes, the customer service it's something that we're never going to slouch on. We're only working to get better. We're working on a new ticketing system through HubSpot where we're going to start directing everyone. So you're going to have to bear with us when we get there. But
Yeah.
the support email will no longer be the place to contact us. We'll have a contact us form that will create a service ticket, and that's going to allow us to just make sure that everything's even further streamlined. And we're also training some AI chatbots. Now, I know a lot of people don't like AI, but they're going to be trained by us to operate like us. So if they can handle a situation that's smaller and point you in the right direction to find an answer, it'll work. If not, it will redirect you to one of us and create a service ticket. And within 20 to 50 minutes, you're going to get a response from someone on our service team. So, yeah, we love that. That's something that's never going to go away. It's never going to be compromised is customer service, guys. So it'll be around forever.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, I think that's the major contributing factor to how quickly you guys have grown, and how many people
Yeah.
return as well. Because it's not a lot of people realize, like, it's the research space, yes, at the end of the day, but we can still, like, the thing that I liked with you guys is it felt like you're creating an actual company and still bringing those principles over rather than, just just a pop
Fly
up
by
that's
night.
gonna
Yeah,
fly by night. You're gonna, not get an email back for 2 days, and that's a really important like factor. And I think a lot of people are getting there, but you kind of led the way in that regard. And like you said, like, you know, I remember the first launch. I think whenever we launched, was it Labor Day? Something. It was, I think it was Labor Day when you
Labor Day
went
was like
and
our big first launch was Labor Day. We were connected through the end of August, but Labor Day was our first big like push together.
yeah, yeah. And even from that aspect, like I remember you were still testing with Yanishek at the time, and we were on the phone, and you didn't think about it till later, but you texted me, you're like, I'm driving to Denver to get these shipped out so they can get testing, so maybe we can get them out before the sale like ends. And
Yep.
everything, like, it went out, and we didn't get it back till like Monday of like the final day of the Labor Day sale. And we didn't have,
Yep.
I think it was like, or there was a couple products, and like you didn't list it. You were very like, you had everything ready to go. You literally just had to click the button once the COA was there to upload it and like let it go. And I remember how stressed we both were. We were like, we want to get this
Yeah.
out to people, but we you've always done things the right way, which I've appreciated, because it's very tempting to just, hey, like, we have this stuff, the testing should be back, but like, we're not gonna list it till the end. So you guys have kind of been the driving factor, and there's other companies doing it right too, but like really
Sure.
pushing that standard to, make this as seamless for the customer as possible, and make it an actual process, because stuff goes wrong all the time, but you got to put in like operating procedures to, you know list that COA, then list the product, and like get all that working through. And it's not just you and one other person running this thing. Like, you like you mentioned, you switched from the insurance side of it. So congratulations on
Mhm.
that. You're going fully in on Peptira. I don't know if you ever
Yep.
thought that was going to be a
No,
possibility. So maybe you can
not
talk
in a
about that a
million.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, not in a million years did we think that was going to be a possibility. It's kind of funny. I won't go into the whole history of Strong Insurance, but my mother-in-law has worked with me in Strong Insurance, and we used to do property and casualty, like home and auto and things like that. And we sold that in 2023 to focus on commercial, and very quickly found our expertise lying with the transportation industry. And so we got very good at that. Since 2023, that's been our strict focus is just trucking companies, and that's it. And when I started Peptira, I'd let my mother-in-law know, like, hey, I'm going to be stepping away a little bit from the strong insurance side of things. We're just going to be, just so I had a little bit of time to make sure that Peptira runs and operates the way we expect it to, and to the standards we want it to. And she looked at me and said, "You're going to sell this place, and I'm not going to have a job." And I assured her then that I would not be selling strong insurance and that she would have a job. And Peptira continued to grow and grow, and eventually it became too much to run both of them. I do have a special needs boy at home, and between the two businesses and that, I just had no time in the day to be a good dad and things like that, and that's non-negotiable for me. And so out of spite, I pushed as long as I could to not sell strong insurance because I didn't want my mother-in-law to be right. But
Yeah.
she was right. And so what's really cool though, she followed me from our first agency, and she's coming over to Peptira as well. So she's going to run. She can be our operations manager. So when she gets in here full time and transitioned over, she will be focusing on our day-to-day customer service and day-to-day fulfillment, and making sure that those two departments are operating well with one another, while I focus on some higher level items like expansion into international countries that have requested our services, and some things of that nature. And so we're really excited for that. We never expected that to happen. It's fun for me to, all I've done in my adult life is insurance. So it's fun for me to have the opportunity to try to do something different, especially something that I would say, I wouldn't say more passionate about than insurance, because insurance is my original love, right? It's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. I never thought I would, same thing, but I
Yeah.
loved insurance. But I love the research peptide space. I really do enjoy it. I love all the people I get to interact with, such as yourself, on a daily basis. It's a lot of fun, and I would say more fun than insurance though. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say I love it more, but it's definitely more fun and interesting, and there's always something moving. Insurance is a little more like sit here behind four computer screens and
Hmm.
click buttons and fill out paperwork. So really excited to be here. I mean, we're just absolutely over the moon about the opportunity that's been presented to us in running Peptira, working with people like Derek. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I don't like there's definitely that passion there between both of us. I think like we've had those late, midnight conversations where you're still at the office trying to figure out like printing. I remember the one time you couldn't find like an Ethernet cord for your printer or like a USB cable and like it was, you're running both of these at the exact same time and the Peptira is very, you're packing orders constantly. There's a lot of like actual work to be done, like getting stuff out and making sure everything, dealing with all the customer service issues and everything like that. Like, I still like my full-time job, like some people know, some people don't know. Like I still I'm in the office most of the week, like probably 4 or 5 days a week. And then if you see like prices and stuff like missing, like I try my best. I try my best to like update all that stuff and like do it the best I can. I don't know honestly how I'm doing it with like the school community and stuff like that, but I think it's like the passion behind it that drives like everybody into this that like really, works. There is no free time when you're like, especially when you have like you're trying to do two things at once. It's
Right.
it's this 24/7. So if someone really didn't I think anybody else in my position, like if I didn't love it at this point, I wouldn't be doing it. Like
And
you have to have that.
you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's a ton of work, especially in 2025, where it's so easily to be connected and so hard to
Hmm.
disconnect, right? Like we all have our phones on us 24/7. We're all wearing smartwatches where we can see our notifications and yeah,
So,
exactly. So it's like
yeah,
to truly disconnect from the business. I mean, it's hard for me to sleep at night because I wear this watch and my watch goes ding and I look at it and it's a Gmail and it's a to the support inbox and okay, let me grab my phone and respond to it. And next thing I know, I'm responding to customer service requests at 1:30 in the morning and I still haven't slept yet and I got to be at the office at 7:30, So
yeah.
there has to be a passion there to justify what we do because it does drive you crazy. And you've got 5, 6,000 people that in a way are kind of dependent on your services, right?
The
Um,
yeah. Yeah, no,
and
the
so
even with the school community, I was gonna say now with that growing like so much, like I tell people all the time, like I still do a good job of trying to get back to everybody that posts, everybody that asks questions and stuff like that. But like yeah, I always tell people like there's so much going on now between the site, my full-time job, this, like at me or DM me and I'll try to get back to you as quick as possible with like that stuff.
right,
But I think we both went through a phase like just people reaching out and like overall like I've had to like take a step back where I like my phone's been on do not disturb for the past like 6 months. Like I think I told you that and it's like
yeah,
it's funny because Ben would call me and he'd have to call me twice because
yep,
I would have to like I'd have to it would automatically block the call and then he'd text me, he'd be like, I tried to call you, and then I'd be like, all right.
yeah,
And then it would go through. So like even for that, I've just gotten to a point I turn on like personal mode. So like, my family and my roommates and everything can get to me. And then, from that aspect, I can still see all your guys' notifications. But if something does get missed, like yeah, especially with you for the company side of it, like yeah, like now you have customer service people in there, but it's constantly there's something going on behind the scenes, and it's hard to disconnect from all of that. It's the
it
hardest thing
is.
in the world. I've gotten to the point where I'd kind of, I've had to. You don't enjoy the stuff that's going on like right in front of you because there's something on the back end. So that's
Yeah,
that's a hard disconnect too that I don't think people
it,
realize.
it's by far the hardest part of just being in the peptide space in general because it is just 24/7 and like you say your life is just moving by in front of your eyes and so you have to find a way to disconnect and I'm in the same boat. There's times where I have to put my phone in a different room and do something in a different space in my house because otherwise it's so hard not to focus on that and especially with having a family it's imperative for me, like I say, non-negotiable for me to do everything I can be to be the best father I can be, and I already spend probably too many hours at the office and so when
Yeah.
I am home I need to really take advantage of that time as much as possible, so it's a grind constantly, but I don't think I'd have it any other way. It's all I've ever known is a
Yeah.
grind, whether it was insurance, whether it's peptides. But this one's it's fun. This one's a lot of fun, and it's fun to be helpful to people that are new
Mhm.
to the space. That's what we're here for. I know that's what you're here for. And I think you've done it very well, and I think we're doing it well, and so I think that's why we see such a good synergy between your tool and our product, is because we both have the same goal in mind, and that's to have a simple, safe, easy to understand, easy to process place for new and existing researchers to get their products.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the driving factor just behind both of us, which we kind of both touched on, is like we've let the community lead the way in that aspect of what they want
Yep.
to see. That's, constantly, I think that's kind of what this podcast will become too, is like what, who they want to see on, what they want to see us talk about. Like that way, that's what it's how I kind of built the school in that regard, which I think that community overall, I think you get on social media platforms and you get random people that comment and everything like that. But it's been a really like almost nurturing space in school where everybody like now I can't even get to a post before somebody gives an answer to it because like there's
Yeah.
so many active people in there that like a lot of the times now I just like I'll leave a comment and just do like a pointing up emoji because that's like exactly what my answer would be. And I think people have learned enough in that regard, or there's people that have been in this research space longer than us, and like you don't know.
Right.
I'll always say it 100% of the time. I don't know the answers to everything. I'll try to research as much as possible. I'll try to do all this stuff, but there's some stuff that's just not out there. It's hard to figure out, and I think we can do the best we can, and that's really all. That's all we can offer to the community. But like the more of us that are, you know, especially just coming at it with like an open mind, open attitude of like, there's going to be beginners, there's going to be people that are advanced, but like being helpful along the way, I think is what gets a lot of people either they're too scared and like nobody wants to explain the basics to them. That's what kind of I built the school community around, whether it's like,
Right.
courses for basic, reconstitution stuff of like, like redoing like a research sample. Like I remember I first got in the space, I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. That was the scariest thing for me. Like I was like, I'm gonna mess this up, gonna waste all this money and it's it's gonna go bad. So like every aspect of it from that to even the products that are getting offered at Peptira, like the shift there has been just you guys have always had like a good variety, but like for a lot of the time like you were on the tool, like we didn't have like there wasn't stock of like much stuff there, like
Right.
we didn't
Yeah.
have that
It's
stock.
hard to
And
keep stock. Yeah.
yeah, so like even offering that stuff, I think we're every day we're kind of learning like what people want to see, and that's the coolest part is the feedback portion of it. I wouldn't give that up for the world, like being able to interact with people not just on a one-to-one basis but seeing a community aspect to it. And I
Yeah.
think that's how we
Yeah.
drive this forward for sure, like both regards, like the tool, Peptira, the podcast, like
The podcast.
the yeah, like I think we just like I said, even with like the name, like I want it to be community driven, like what you guys want to see. I know we have some like stuff lined up for it's just stuff down the road that we think like even getting like we talked about maybe like a lab on the podcast and just like
Oh, it's going to
going
happen
through
for sure.
that.
We're going to have some
We
really cool guests. Yeah, we'll get some
yeah
really cool folks to have on here that'll be valuable. Like you say, providing value to the podcast listeners is kind of the name of the whole podcast. I mean, it's education and providing value is I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You don't know what you don't know. And me and Eric, or me and Derek, goodness gracious, that's how you know I've been working too many hours.
yeah
We're not the all seeing eye that knows everything about peptides. There are people that have been in this space for 10 years, researching, that know more than they've forgotten more than we know. I mean, that's just the way it is. And with anything there's people that way, right? So, but like you said, we'll if someone has a question and we don't know the answer, we'll do everything we can to get that answer, and provide you that answer or point you in the right direction to find that answer. And then as far as this podcast goes, and what we do with it in the future, that's, like I say, down below is that poll. Once again, if you haven't done it
yeah
yet, pause the video now, go down there and vote, because you guys are going to determine the name of this podcast. And that's how everything's going to go. You're going to determine who we have on the show, what we talk about next. So there's going to be a ton of opportunity for you guys to be a part of this podcast with us and potentially be on this podcast with us. So
Mhm.
we appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this. We're super excited to get this episode out as well as future episodes. I just am really elated to be invited into Derek's school community and having started to build our own community over in school on Telegram. We'll drop all of our social medias down below this in the comment section so you guys can join some of those if you'd like to check some of those different channels out. But we just can't thank you guys enough for all the support for both of our operations that we're running here. Derek, do you have anything you want to finish with?
Oh, I just want to say, like I said, this is completely driven by you guys. Overall, we just want to hear either, whether the podcast goes more into the research space, more into, people's stories and just the whole, how they got into it. Because I think that's a lot. It gets overlooked a lot because this whole research side of it does a lot for a lot of people, and
Right.
that's the community we're kind of like building here. It's like helping one another. So if there's anything, even comments on the post on anything we talk about, if you have more in-depth questions, I think that's the greatest part of the whole thing with the, school, with a lot of the other platforms, you're not going to get that response. So if you do have questions, don't feel dumb to ask them. Don't feel like, oh, I'm a beginner. I don't want to get embarrassed or anything like that. Like, I think both of our communities, especially, I think that's where we overlap. Everybody's very kind with their responses and overall like very helpful as well. If nobody answers your question, we'll get to it eventually. I'll see it. If
Yeah.
we don't respond, tag me 9 times. I'll get to it eventually. So
And
yeah, I'm
that's
just
exactly right.
yeah
Yeah, but I think both communities are there is no dumb questions. It's called research for a reason, guys. No one knows what they don't know. Get in here, ask questions. You're never going to take the leap of researching if you don't feel comfortable. And so one of the best ways to get comfortable is to ask other people that know things you don't, right? I mean,
yeah
that's we all want to share the knowledge. So ask questions, guys. Ask them down in the comments of this video. Ask them in any of our communities. We have great communities that you guys can ask those questions in. We're super excited to have this podcast rocking and rolling, guys. I want to thank Derek for having me on and putting this podcast together with me. We're excited to have some guests on. So if you have any suggestions of guests, drop those in the comments down below. We'd like to start taking some ideas of who you guys would like to see on this podcast and
yeah
what information, if there's any topics you want to see covered, go ahead and drop those in the comments. You guys are going to determine the future of this podcast. So once again, guys, we appreciate you guys listening. We look forward to the next podcast. We're going to try to do these probably bi-weekly. So super excited for it, guys. And as always, happy researching.